So in this video we shall be discussing about the various assignment techniques that the transportation planners have been using. There are basically four different assignment techniques, popular assignment techniques. The first one is all or nothing assignment technique, which is also known as free assignment or desire assignment technique. The second one is the multiple route assignment technique. Third is capacity restraint assignment technique, and the fourth one is the diversion curve techniques, or you have the diversion curves to do the assignment process. Now let us have a discussion on the first technique, that is called as all or nothing assignment technique. Now this particular technique is considered to be as the simplest technique and is based on the uh, based on the assumption that the routes followed by the traffic is one that is having the least travel resistance. Now normally when we travel on streets, we don't expect any kind of resistance to be faced by us. Like for example, we would not want to have delay in travel time, we would not want to um, damage our vehicle, or we would not expect any kind of congestion on the streets, and you would want to have a very comfortable ride. This is what is expected by every rider or road user or the street user who travel within the given region. So the resistance can be measured in terms of travel time, it can be measured in terms of distance or cost, or it can be the combination of these parameters as well. Now it depends again on the transportation planner, who is going to add or delete any sort of parameters that is to be considered during the planning process. So uh, the technique here again is similar to build a tree or a minimum path tree, as it was discussed in the previous case. And the procedure again remains similar to what I discussed in the previous video. So once the tree building process is done, the next stage is to assign the traffic flow to the minimum path tree. So there's an example which tells you how this actually works. Now there would be a table that would be given somewhat like this. You might have to explain this process through an example similar to this, depending upon your assumptions, and explain it if asked in the examination. So you would have to represent the existing situation in the form of a table like this. Now this is the from zone centroid and to zone centroid, and then parallelly you would be having the traffic volumes, traffic volume, which is represented in terms of vehicles per hour. So there are centroids or nodes, as you can see here. This is zone centroid 1. You have the destinations as 2, 3 and 4. Now under this circumstance, it is been expected from you that there would be these many number of vehicles which would be starting from zone centroid 1. I think 1 is not been printed here, you assume it to be as 1. Okay, so from 1 to 2 in this table you can see there are 2500 vehicles per hour which are expected to move. Similarly, from zone centroid 1 to zone centroid 3, there are 3000 vehicles expected to move. And on the other hand, from 1 to 4, there are 4000 vehicles per hour which are expected to move. So it is required to assign the flow from zone centroid 1 to zone centroid 2, 3 and 4. That is what is our job. So how do we start here is, when you are considering the travel from zone centroid 1, there would be 2500 plus 3000 plus 4000 vehicles. So summed up together it would be 9500 vehicles. So there would be 9500 vehicles moving from zone centroid 1 to zone centroid 11. And thereafter you need to remember that from zone centroid 1 to zone centroid 2 there are only 2500 vehicles which are vehicles per hour which are expected to reach zone centroid 2. zone centroid 2. So this is the origin and this is the destination. So this is the origin, that is zone centroid 1, destination is zone centroid 2. So you are expected to deviate only 2500 vehicles among 9500 vehicles. So from zone centroid 1 to 11 there will be 9500 vehicles. From zone centroid 11 to 12 there will be again deviation of 2500 vehicles, and from 12 to 2 there will be again 2500 vehicles. So if 2500 vehicles gets deviated from zone centroid 11, you will be left out with 7000 vehicles. Now those 7000 vehicles will be moving from zone centroid 11 to zone centroid 15, and the same thing gets continued till zone centroid 18. So there will be 7000 vehicles in this street moving per hour, and thereafter from zone centroid 18 there will be 4000 vehicles which will be moving to zone centroid 4 as it was expected in the question, and there would be 3000 vehicles which would be taking a deviation to zone centroid 3 again as expected in the question, right? So this is how the allocation of uh, routes will be done based on the volume. Okay, now there are some advantages and disadvantages of this technique, that is all or nothing technique. Those advantages and disadvantages are being explained here in this particular section of Dr. L.R. Kadiali's textbook in page number I think page number 706. Okay, so you'll have to go through this in detail. So I'll read out the contents as an overview so that it gives you an idea about what it actually means. So once the traffic volumes are assigned to the various links, a check is made to see that no link is loaded beyond its capacity. Now this is very important for you to know as far as a transportation planner is concerned. Never ever the planning should be done in such a way that the links are overcrowded or overloaded more than its capacity. So if the overloading is found to exist in some cases, then the journey time on the this thing overloaded link are expected to be altered, and the whole assignment process need to be repeated. Now this particular process is expected to be simple on small cases. All or nothing assignment actually, though it is simple, it suffers certain disadvantages when compared to that of other available techniques what we have in front of us. So those disadvantages are being shown here. Okay, so the first one is that if the time alone is used as the governing factor for the choice of minimum path, other equally important factors such as cost, the travel time, safety, etc. will be neglected. That is what is the first disadvantage. Secondly, because of this very principle on which the technique is based, too many vehicles tend to be assigned on more attractive routes, which might cause increasing congestion on those streets, and this might again uh, make the other facilities being less utilized in the process. Then you have the third disadvantage, which indicates that if a superior facility is available, say for example a motorway, or there might be a metro system or a suburban railway system, which tends to be expected to be utilized but it doesn't happen. So if there's any superior facility available, then the travel time or cost being the sole factor, the all or nothing assignment might not be able to reflect the tendency, right? Then the fourth disadvantage is like small differences in journey time by different routes between the same origin and destination can give us unrealistic journey paths. Say for example, if you know the network or if you know the streets by yourself, without referring to any kind of maps, you will be possibly reaching the destination at a much faster time. But if there's a person who is unaware about the networks in the region, then what might happen is, through these calculations, he might be misguided to travel much more further, or uh, he might spend a lot of time and cost to reach the same destination which could have been reached in a much better way. So those kind of unrealistic journey paths and the allocation of journey paths might be seen in this all or nothing technique. I think we most of us might have come across this kind of a situation wherein you are using Google Map and you are wanting to reach some destination very nearby, but since you are new to the place, you are dependent on the map, and when the map starts showing the streets and the route, finally when you reach the destination, it would be observed that it was very near to you, but you felt as if you have traveled for a very long distance, spending a lot of time and money. So that is what is a similar kind of disadvantage what we face here in all or nothing technique. Next, the second type of assignment technique, popular assignment technique, is the multiple route assignment technique. So within this technique, the driver is assumed to select the route which minimizes the sum of all his supposed link time, and the multiple route model have been found to be yielding more accurate assignments than the previous assignment technique, which is the all or nothing assignment technique. This is considered to be as better than all or nothing assignment technique, because it all depends upon the psychology of the user, and calculation of the possible travel time being broken into number of links. Okay, that's about multiple route assignment technique. Then you have the capacity restraint technique. Now in this capacity restraint technique or assignment technique, what actually happens is, it works similar to all or nothing technique, but the concern here is to see and have a closer look upon the capacity of the links, whether they are overloaded, or if the flow is getting decreased due to congestion because of your assignment process, or there might be a situation where, though the streets are capable, there are no vehicles moving on the system. So again, going back to the use of the apps, what we normally come across, whenever you type your origin and then destination in Google Maps, you might have observed that it gives us certain options, and whenever the options are being given to us, say two or three options, the indication of the traffic flow will be possibly shown in terms of red color, or orange color, or even blue color. Each of these colors have their own representation. If red, then it means that it is completely congested and the capacity has reached its saturation point. That's why when you have this kind of a situation, it will ask you whether you would want to continue on the same route, or it shows you an alternative route which might be slightly longer in terms of distance, but cost and time can be saved. Okay, so under such circumstances, the iterative process will be carried out in the background, and the best possible allocation of the alternative route will be given. Okay, so there are certain methods to be followed in this capacity restraint assignment technique. One is called as the SMOC method. So in this method, the all or nothing assignment is first worked out, and in the iterative process, you will be recalculating the travel time factor, or the modified travel time factor, in every iterative process. So this is the equation that is mathematically representing the SMOC method of doing the assignment process. So this capital T represents the original travel time or the travel time on a link when the volume equals its capacity. Capital TA is the adjusted travel time. So to find out the adjusted travel time, you will have to use this equation. In this equation, you have E, which is the exponential base, and capital V is the assigned volume, and small c is the computed link capacity. So always TA must be less than or equal to 5 times T naught. Okay, so T naught actually is the original travel time. Okay, here actually it had to be T naught. So T naught is the original travel time. So the adjusted travel time should always be less than or equal to 5 times the actual travel time. Okay, so that is what need to be kept in the mind. So in every iteration you will be calculating this adjusted travel time and doing the iterative process. On similar grounds, you have the next method, which we call as the Bureau of Public Roads method, or BPR. So mathematically, BPR equation is represented somewhat like this, wherein you will be determining this capital Tn. So capital Tn is the link travel time at assigned volume, and similarly here T naught is as usual the base travel time at zero volume, which will be equal to around 0.87 travel time as per the practical capacity what we have. Okay, and then you have the capital V, which is the volume, and small c, which is the capacity. So these are the two techniques or methods that we have under capacity restraint assignment technique. Okay, so to have a revision, we have four assignment techniques. The first one was all or nothing assignment technique. The second one was multiple route assignment technique. And then the third one is the capacity restraint technique. As I told you, there are two methods in it. And then the last technique that we have here is the diversion curves. Okay, or the technique which uses diversion curves. Now, this is the frequently used assignment technique um, by the transportation planners. There are certain curves which represents empirically derived relationship showing the proportions of traffic that is likely to be diverted on a new facility. Now what this exactly means is, suppose you have a route which is connecting zone A and zone B. Now this is the only route that connects zone B. All of a sudden you have planned for looking into the congestion that is happening, and looking into the unwanted piling up of traffic on the streets. It would be planned by you as a transport planner that you construct a bypass. Now once the bypass is being constructed, obviously there would be major chunk of the traffic volume that would want to go in a much comfortable way, and they would prefer going through the bypass rather than going through the existing old street. Okay, so to find out what is the percentage of diversion of the existing traffic that might happen, you have this particular technique. Okay, so one such facility is constructed. Using these diversion curves, you will be able to calculate what would be the percentage of vehicles that will be using this new facility. So the data collected from the pattern of road usage in the past are going to be helpful in developing these diversion curves. Normally, the diversion curves can be constructed using different variables like travel time saved, distance saved, travel time ratio, distance ratio, travel time and distance saved, distance and speed ratio, and then travel cost ratio, etc. etc. So these are some of the curves that can be helpful. So along the y-axis you can see you have percentage using motorway. So when it comes to travel time saved travel time saved in terms of minutes with percentage using motorway, then the graph would look somewhat like this. Okay, when you have distance saved in miles along the x-axis, then it looks somewhat like this. Similarly, travel time ratio, it looks like this. So these are some trends which are being depicted here in this simple diversion curve representation using one variable. Okay, there can be multiple variables also, which I'll be explaining to you possibly uh, ahead. Okay, so this is about the diversion curves. Now, based on these diversion curves, there can be either single variable or there can be multiple variables also. So the equations for the diversion curves that are being used in India to estimate the traffic that gets diverted to the new facility is been shown here in this chart. If there are cars, buses and trucks, they are categorized in two sections here. For cars, you have uh, three different circumstances. One is where the cost ratio interval is less than or equal to 0.634. Second is 0.634 to 1.465, and then the third one is 1.465 to 2. Similarly for trucks and buses. Corresponding to each such cases, here these values that are shown here represents the cost ratio interval. So for the cost ratio interval falling under this category, the percentage diversion you will have to calculate using this equation. Okay, similarly for the next case and so on. So that percentage diversion can be obtained. So that cost ratio is actually the cost of traveling along expressway divided by the cost of traveling along existing highway, right? So that's how it is. Similarly, for time, if you consider or the time ratio, it would be time to travel on a new system divided by time to travel on a old system, right? So similar such case. So that's how the graph would look like. You can go through this graph in detail and get back to me if you have any doubt. Okay, now so this particular process is not only being used in India, but it's been used in many other places. So a well-known example of diversion curve using travel time ratio is to determine the traffic diverted to a new facility is by Bureau of Public Road Curve, or the S-shaped curve, which is popularly known. So this is how the curve would look like, wherein you have the zone to zone usage of motorway in percent, and along the x-axis you have the travel time ratio. So this is the curve by Bureau of Public Roads Division, uh, and to develop such a curve you will have to have the equation that need to be followed, right? So that equation here is represented by P, wherein you'll have to find out the value of P, which represents the percentage of traffic diverted to the new system, which is again dependent on TR raised to n or TR raised to 6 as being shown here. So this TR raised to 6 is the travel time ratio, which is equal to the time on new system, and along the denominator you have the time on the old system, right? So having found these percentages for different travel time ratios, you can see that when you plot it, it would take the shape of S, right? So that's how it looks like. So apart from this particular curve, a similar such curve can be obtained or developed depending upon two variables, say distance and travel time, which was actually formulated by California diversion curve, right? And to develop such a curve, you will have to use this equation. just like how we used here. Okay, and these are some of the curves which were developed by California uh, Bureau. Okay, now there's a simple example that can be considered about how the diversion actually happens using these curves. A very simple example. So in order to relieve congestion on an urban street network, a motorway is proposed to be constructed. The travel time from one zone centroid to other via the proposed motorway is estimated to be 10 minutes, whereas the travel time for the same travel using the existing street is 18 minutes. So there's an old street and there's an expressway or a motorway which is being constructed to travel from the origin to destination. Through the new facility it takes 10 minutes, and through the old facility it takes 18 minutes. And the flow between the two zone centroids is around 1000 vehicles per hour. We need to assign the flow between the new motorway and existing street. Okay, so using this equation of Bureau of Public Roads, this equation, you need to find out the value of tr raised to 6, okay, or just tr. So this is the time taken or time required to travel from origin to destination along the new facility. This is the time along the existing or old facility. You will be getting the ratio as 0.56. Having found this particular value, you can easily determine what is the value of P using this general equation. So once you substitute all the values here, that is raised to 0.56 raised to 6, you will get the answer as 96.5%. Now what this number indicates is 96.5% of 1000 vehicles are expected to get diverted to the new facility that you have proposed, right? So if there are 96.5% vehicles which are expected to get diverted, in terms of number of vehicles it would be around 965 vehicles per hour out of 1000 vehicles will get diverted to the new facility. It might be an expressway or a motorway. The remaining 35 vehicles per hour will take the older facility. That is what it means, and that's how this diversion curve actually works. So this is the end of uh, this is the end of the third stage of transport planning that we have already discussed, which is nothing but traffic assignment. So any doubts regarding any sort of techniques that we discussed, okay, you can get back to me and get it clarified. So this is the end of traffic assignment. In the next video I'll be beginning with the last stage of transport planning, that is model split analysis.